Hello everyone, Richard here, and today we're going to be discussing weapon upgrades and weapon tiers as it relates to Killing Floor 2. Both of these subjects get brought up frequently in my videos, and I often get questions regarding upgrades and what weapon tiers are. Therefore, I thought this topic was worthy of some explanation. In Killing Floor 2, no two weapons are created alike, and while some may behave very similarly, for the most part, weapons, even at the same price point or in the same perk, differ greatly from one another. Weapon tiers, however, give a rough estimation on how powerful or effective a weapon will be compared to its peers. Currently, there are 5 weapon tiers, with starting weapons such as the AR-15 and Crowell in Tier 1 and the M99, Battle Axe, M32, and HM-Tech 501 sitting in Tier 5. A quick way to determine the weapon's tier is by the amount of times it can be upgraded. For example, an AR-15 can be upgraded up to 4 times, with each upgrade raising it a tier level to a maximum of 5. The M14, by contrast, can be upgraded twice before it reaches tier 5, meaning that it is by default a tier 3 weapon. As a final example, the M99, Battle Axe, 501, and M32, and any new tier 5 weapons added, cannot be upgraded with the current system. You can also roughly determine a weapon's tier by looking at its trader price. Tier 1 weapons will cost around 200 Dash, Tier 2, 650 to 850, Tier 3, 1100 to 1200, Tier 4, around 1500, and finally, Tier 5 comes in with a current range of 2000 to 2500. There are 2 special cases that fall outside of my previously described parameters. The 9mm, which can be upgraded 5 times, and C4, despite being a tier 2 weapon, cannot be upgraded at all. Now that we have a general idea of how weapon tiers work, we can begin to understand weapon upgrades and some of the underlying metagame surrounding when and why you should upgrade your arsenal. Upgrading is a fairly simple process and is done at the trader pod in between waves, and will in most cases simply increase your weapon's per shot damage. Upgrading will require you to shell out some additional money, which will vary based on your weapon's current tier. Upgrading from Tier 1 will cost you 500 Dash, from Tier 2, 600 Dash, from Tier 3, 700 Dash, and finally, from Tier 4, a staggering 1500 Dash. Upgrading your weapons will increase its weight, usually by 1 kilogram, although upgrading pistols to Tier 5 usually sees this increase by an additional kilogram. The 9mm is the greatest exception to these rules, with its first upgrade from Tier 0 costing 200 Dash. In addition, it also does not gain any weight from upgrades, meaning it can be upgraded even at maximum weight. It should also be noted that single and dual pistols upgrade costs are the same, and buying a second pistol will see both of them upgraded to the first pistol's tier. Gains from upgrading can vary on the weapon and the perk. For example, the M1911s deal an additional 40% damage from the first upgrade, while the Caulk and Burn only gains a 10% damage bonus. Looking at only the multiplicative increase of an upgrade isn't seeing the full picture, as certain weapons will deal damage over time or have a higher base damage, meaning that a smaller percentage may have a bigger impact than it appears. That being said, some weapons will get a much better deal from an upgrade than others. Upgrading will also require a bit of economic maneuvering, as it is rather taxing considering how expensive the upgrades can be. Before you upgrade, you should consider how big of a difference said upgrade will make to your killing power, and if that money could be better spent giving it to a newly joined teammate or one that has been struggling financially. Also, once upgraded, will you have enough additional funds to purchase ammo and actually make use of the upgrade? You should also keep in mind your long-term or endgame plan for your weapon loadout, ensuring you'll have enough carrying space for any additional weapons that you may need. It is also worth knowing that lower tier weapons tend to be much heavier than higher tier weapons once fully upgraded. This seems to be counterintuitive to the overall design philosophy Tripwire laid out for the upgrade system, wanting all weapons to be viable in later portions of the game. While it would be impractical to cover every single weapon and how viable their upgrades are, I can point out several standout examples of weapons that definitely should or should not be upgraded based on their potential return on investment. The Vlad 1000 for Berserkers is an interesting case as it provides you with a good damage improvement, upgrading from tier 2 and from tier 4, with the upgrade from tier 3 only giving you an additional 5% damage. Shotguns generally get pretty weak improvements from upgrades, however, the Boomstick, Doomstick, and M4 are all worthy recipients of an upgrade or two, considering how useful they are at bringing down higher HP enemies. The Field Medic's weapons are a very interesting exception, as upgrading them also reduces the cooldown for their healing dart recharge time. The HM Tech 101 or Medic Pistol has a very good initial upgrade as well, increasing damage by a staggering 70% while not increasing the weapon's weight and reducing the dart cooldown time by 10%. The RPG at tier 5, while only receiving a 10% damage bonus, does allow the RPG to one-shot decapitate a Scrake if using all the skills on the left side of the Demolitionist tree, regardless of difficulty or the amount of players. Both the Caulk and Burn and Flamethrower are both poor candidates for an upgrade. This is because the damage increase for upgrades is rather minimal, which will do little to raise their low per shot damage. The MAC-10 and Spitfires by contrast are both very powerful with upgrades, and allow the Firebug to dish out some pretty incredible damage, especially in Z time with Pyromaniac. The Gunslinger has arguably the most powerful weapon in Killing Floor 2 with upgrades, the Desert Eagles. While not as powerful as they were prior to some relatively recent patching, they are still a force to be reckoned with and capable of mowing down big Zeds with incredible ease. Otherwise, the rest of the Gunslinger's weapons do scale reasonably well, with the AF 2011s and 500s being some very capable alternatives if you don't want to be playing the game on easy mode. The Sharpshooters Mark 14 EBR and Railgun both gain a substantial boost to practical killing potential from a single upgrade, allowing the Mark 14 to more efficiently handle medium Zeds and reducing the shots to kill against big Zeds with the Railgun in many situations. The first upgrade for the SPX is also a rather worthwhile value proposition, and even makes it relatively effective at taking down Skrakes as a Gunslinger or Sharpshooter. A second upgrade, while providing the same raw damage increase, will see diminishing returns as its weight will limit other aspects of your loadout. The FAL can benefit from an upgrade, especially in the hands of a Commando. This is largely due to the fact that Commando's hollow point round skill makes it much more powerful and easier to control during sustained firing. The extra damage is also not wasted thanks to the fact that the FAL can hit multiple enemies with a single round. The SWAT's MP5 RIS's first upgrade is reasonably priced and puts its per shot damage on par with the Tommy gun while still being a kilogram less in weight and firing roughly 25% faster than its American counterpart. The Chris's Tier 5 upgrade, while very expensive, will make it more capable of dealing with big Zeds such as Skrakes and Pounds. However, in this case, I feel like diversifying your arsenal should be accomplished first, especially if you have a dedicated big game hunter. If you are curious to see all the stats behind upgrading, I will provide a link to the spreadsheet containing all the information, as the data is hard to condense into a reasonable amount of time. If you'd like to see me cover upgrading in further detail, let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know what weapons you like to upgrade the most or what your favorite loadout is. Thank you again for watching. Feel free to subscribe so you never miss a guide, or check out my Patreon if you wish to support me further. But until next time, happy hunting!